Rejected Omega sheltered 12 stray wolves by Dawn, the Alpha King named Luna. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Amelia Grant had always felt the sting of rejection. From the moment she was born, she had been labeled as weak, not quite fitting into the world she was born into. An Omega in a society ruled by alphas, she was often seen as little more than an afterthought. Her pack, once her home, had turned their backs on her when they realized she couldn't shift properly, her wolf spirit barely a whisper. The other members of her pack mocked her, and no alpha ever looked her way. But Amelia never let their cruelty define her. Instead, she found solace in the forest, where she felt free. The wolves in the pack didn't understand her, but the creatures in the woods did. One day, as she ventured deeper into the forest, she came across a sight that would change her life forever. 12 stray wolves, all injured and frightened, lay in a clearing, their fur matted with dirt and blood. They looked lost, abandoned, much like herself. Despite the risk of being discovered, Amelia couldn't leave them. She gently approached the pack, her heart pounding as she carefully tended to their wounds. Amelia wasn't a healer in the traditional sense, but she had an innate gift, a quiet power that allowed her to soothe pain with a simple touch. As she worked, she didn't notice the figure watching her from the shadows. Elias, the Alpha King, had been in hiding for weeks, his true identity concealed behind a spell that made him appear as nothing more than a wounded wolf. He had been cursed, and only the touch of a true mate could break the spell. When he saw Amelia, something stirred deep within him. She was kind, pure, and her presence felt like a balm to his tortured soul. She was the one who could break the curse. As the night wore on, and the wolves began to heal, Elias's heart grew heavy with the weight of the truth. Amelia had saved him, unknowingly, and in doing so, had marked herself as his destined mate. He knew it was time to reveal himself. At dawn, as the first light of day broke through the trees, Elias shifted back into his human form, towering and powerful. Amelia gasped in shock as she saw him standing before her, no longer a wolf but an alpha in all his glory. His silver-gray eyes locked with hers, and in that moment, everything changed. "You," Elias said, his voice rich with authority, "are my Luna." Amelia stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat as the powerful figure before her revealed his true form. The man, no, the Alpha King, was even more imposing than she had imagined. His silver-gray eyes met hers with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine, yet there was something strangely comforting about his presence. His dark hair framed his face, which was sharp and regal, his body tall and muscular. The air around him seemed to hum with power, and Amelia could feel it, deep in her bones. Her heart raced, but not out of fear. For the first time, she felt truly seen, as if something larger than herself had just shifted. "You are my Luna," Elias repeated, his voice carrying the weight of authority. Amelia's mind reeled. She had healed him, tended to him as though he were just another injured animal in the woods, never imagining that he was the very Alpha King her pack had whispered about in hushed tones. The curse he had been under was broken now, and in his eyes, she saw a mix of gratitude and something deeper, something that pulled at her heart. What do you mean?" Amelia's voice trembled as she stepped back, trying to process what was happening. "You healed me," Elias explained, his gaze softening. "And in doing so, you broke the curse that held me captive. The bond between us is now sealed. You are the one destined to stand by my side." Amelia felt a strange pull toward him, a sensation she couldn't explain. The way he spoke, the certainty in his words, made her feel as though the universe had been leading her to this very moment. "I don't understand," she murmured, her hands trembling at her sides. "I'm just an Omega. I've been rejected, forgotten by my own pack. How could I be the Luna of an Alpha King?" Elias took a step forward, his large frame dwarfing hers. His hand reached out, brushing a lock of hair away from her face, his touch gentle yet powerful. "You are not just any Omega, Amelia. You have a strength inside you that others cannot see. I've watched you care for those wolves, and I know that your heart is pure. That is what makes you my Luna. Not your rank, not your past, but who you are. Amelia's breath caught in her throat at his words. She had never seen herself as anything more than weak, but the way Elias spoke made her feel like she mattered, like she was important. But doubts still lingered in her mind. But I don't belong in your world. I'm not like the other women who would be your mate. I don't even have a wolf. Elias smiled softly, his eyes warm as they met hers. You may not have a wolf now, but that can change. The bond between us is powerful enough to awaken that which you have been denied. I will help you discover your strength, Amelia. Together, we will face whatever challenges come our way. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest. Could it be true? Could she really belong in a world she had always felt excluded from? Elias stepped back, giving her space, but the connection between them still felt as if it were pulling her closer. Come with me, he said, his voice firm yet inviting. Let me show you a world where you are not rejected, where you are valued for who you truly are. Amelia hesitated for a moment, looking at the wolves she had tended to and thinking of her past, the life she had known. But the pull of Elias's words, of the bond she couldn't deny, was too strong. Slowly, she nodded. I will follow you, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Elias's eyes shone with approval, and for the first time, Amelia felt a sense of belonging that she had never experienced before. As they walked side by side, the forest around them seemed to welcome them both, the trees whispering in the wind as though acknowledging the new chapter in Amelia's life. She had always been an outsider, but now, with Elias by her side, she felt as though she was finally where she was meant to be. Amelia stood in the clearing, her heart still racing from the unexpected revelation. Elias, the Alpha King, had called her his Luna. The words echoed in her mind, almost too much for her to grasp. She had never imagined herself as anything more than the rejected Omega, the one who had been cast aside by her pack. But now, everything had changed. Elias, a man of undeniable power, had chosen her. Amelia could hardly believe it. She had spent her entire life invisible, ignored by those around her, yet here she was, standing before the Alpha King, who now regarded her as his equal. I don't know what to say, Amelia finally whispered, her voice trembling. Elias stepped closer, his presence overwhelming yet comforting. You don't need to say anything, Amelia. I've already chosen you. You have a strength inside you, a power you don't even know you possess. That is why I've chosen you as my Luna. Amelia looked at him, confusion still clouding her mind. But I don't even have a wolf. How can I be a Luna without the power of a wolf? Elias smiled softly, his gaze unwavering. You may not have a wolf now, but that can change. The bond between us is strong, and in time, it will awaken the power within you. I will be here, by your side, to help you discover what lies within. Amelia felt a surge of emotion, something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. For the first time, she felt as though she belonged, as though she was meant to be a part of something larger than herself. She had always been told she was weak, that she would never be good enough. But Elias's words gave her a sense of purpose she had never known before. I want to believe you, she said, her voice steadying. But how can I? Elias reached out, gently cupping her face in his large hand. Trust me, he said, his voice low and soothing. You don't have to do this alone. We are destined to be together, and I will help you every step of the way. Together, we will overcome any obstacles that come our way. Amelia stared into his eyes, and, for the first time, she didn't feel the weight of her past. She didn't feel the sting of rejection. All she felt was the warmth of Elias's presence and the pull of the bond between them. Slowly, she nodded. I will trust you, she said, her voice quiet but resolute. I will follow you, Elias. Together, we will face whatever comes. Elias smiled, his eyes filled with pride. Then let's go, my Luna, he said softly. As they turned to walk back toward the pack, Amelia couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement rising within her. The path ahead would not be easy, but with Elias by her side, she was ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. She was no longer the rejected Omega. She was the Luna of the Alpha King, and she was determined to prove that she was worthy of the title. The world was waiting for her, and for the first time, she felt ready to take her place in it. Amelia walked beside Elias, her heart still pounding from the weight of everything that had happened. The morning sun was just beginning to rise, casting golden light over the dense forest as they made their way back to his home, a place she had never imagined she would be. The soft rustling of the leaves and the scent of pine filled the air, calming her nerves. Her life had completely changed in a single night. No longer the Omega who had been cast aside, she was now the Luna of the Alpha King, a title she never thought possible. As they approached a clearing, Elias stopped and turned to face her. His eyes, so intense and filled with purpose, met hers. "Amelia," he said, his voice steady but soft, "this is where your new life begins. Here, you will not be judged for your past. You will be respected and honored. The pack will look to you, and together, we will lead them." Amelia took a deep breath, trying to steady her thoughts. She had always been told she was too weak, too insignificant to be a leader. But with Elias by her side, she felt the first stirrings of something stronger within her. Something she had never known she had. "I don't know if I can do this," she confessed, her voice small, though her resolve was starting to form. "I've never been a leader. I've always been pushed aside." Elias smiled, his hand reaching out to gently cup her cheek. "You already are a leader, Amelia. You have the heart of one. All you need is to believe in yourself." His words, though simple, filled her with a warmth she hadn't felt in years. She had always felt like an outsider, but now, standing with Elias, she could see a future where she was no longer invisible, where she had a purpose. She nodded slowly, her confidence growing. "I'll try," she said, her voice stronger than before. "I'll do my best." Elias smiled approvingly, his eyes sparkling with pride. "That's all I ask," he said, his voice warm and reassuring. "And I will be here every step of the way. Together, we will make this work." They walked further into the clearing, where a large, majestic building stood in the distance. The Alpha King's home. Elias's home. Amelia couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and nervousness. She had never imagined herself in such a place, surrounded by so much power and authority. But now it was her home too. As they approached the entrance, Elias opened the door and gestured for her to enter first. "Welcome home, my Luna," he said, his voice filled with genuine affection. Amelia stepped inside, her heart racing. This was it. The life she had always dreamed of was now within her reach. She had a new purpose, a new role to play. And with Elias by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. The future, once so uncertain, now seemed full of possibilities. She was no longer the rejected Omega. She was the Luna of the Alpha King, and she was ready to embrace her new life. The door closed behind her, and with it, her old life seemed to fade away. For the first time, Amelia felt as though she had found where she truly belonged. Amelia stood in the grand hall, taking in the beauty of the Alpha King's home. The stone walls, decorated with ancient tapestries, seemed to echo with the history of the pack. The air was rich with the scent of pine and wood, mixed with the faint aroma of herbs from the many plants that lined the windowsills. It was a place of power, a place where she had never thought she would belong. Yet here she was, standing in the heart of it. Elias had led her inside, showing her around with a quiet pride. He had been patient, explaining the layout of the house and introducing her to a few of the pack members who worked within its walls. She had met the head of the household, a tall, stern woman named Lydia, who had given her a welcoming nod. As Elias had promised, the atmosphere was warm, and the pack seemed to accept her presence without question. It was a far cry from the cold rejection she had experienced in her own pack. Amelia had spent the last few days adjusting to her new role, spending time with Elias and getting to know the dynamics of the pack. Though there were moments of doubt, she could feel herself slowly growing into the person she was meant to be. Elias was always there, offering quiet encouragement and support. But it wasn't just him. She had begun to notice subtle changes in the way others treated her. The pack members, who once seemed distant and aloof, now looked at her with a kind of respect. She could feel the shift, the way they now acknowledged her as the Luna. It was still hard to believe, but as time passed, she felt the weight of her new position settle over her like a cloak. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the forest, Elias took her to a secluded spot by a small stream. The sound of the water gently flowing over the rocks was calming, and Amelia felt a sense of peace she had never known before. They sat together on a large rock, watching the sunset in silence. Elias turned to her, his expression serious. "Amelia," he began, his voice soft but filled with authority, "there is something important I need to tell you." Amelia turned to face him, her heart skipping a beat. "What is it?" Elias hesitated for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. "The pack is still wary. They respect me, but they need to see that you're truly capable of leading them alongside me. I know it's a lot to ask, but you must prove to them that you belong here. You need to show them your strength." Amelia's chest tightened at his words. She had always doubted her own strength, had always been made to feel like an outsider. The idea of leading a pack, of standing beside Elias as his equal, seemed impossible. But when she looked into Elias's eyes, she saw nothing but belief in her. "I don't know if I can," she said quietly, her voice barely a whisper. Elias reached out and took her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. "You already have, Amelia. The way you've cared for the pack, the way you've supported me, those are the qualities of a true leader. All you need to do is believe in yourself. I know you can do this." Amelia looked down at their joined hands, feeling the strength in his touch. He was right. She had already proven herself, even if she didn't fully realize it yet. The journey ahead would be difficult, but with Elias by her side, she felt like she could face anything. "I'll try," she said, her voice steady now. "I'll show them I belong here." Elias smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "That's all I ask." As they sat there together, the weight of her new responsibilities seemed a little less heavy. She was no longer the rejected Omega, the one left behind. She was Amelia Grant, Luna of the Alpha King, and she was ready to take her place beside him and lead their pack into a new era. Amelia's days had become a blur of adjustment and learning. The weight of her new role as Luna had initially felt like a burden, but with each passing day, she began to understand the depth of her power and influence. Elias had been by her side every step of the way, offering guidance and support. She spent her mornings observing the pack, getting to know the members and their ways. The more she learned, the more she realized how vital her presence was. She wasn't just Elias's Luna. She was a leader, a symbol of change. Despite the progress she had made, Amelia knew there were still challenges ahead. There were whispers in the halls, doubts that lingered in the hearts of some of the pack members. Though they respected Elias, they were uncertain about her. It was clear she had to prove herself. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the forest in a warm, golden glow, Elias took her aside for a private conversation. They stood near the edge of the clearing, the sound of the wind rustling through the trees and the scent of pine filling the air. "Amelia," he began, his voice serious yet gentle, "I know the pack still has its doubts. You need to show them who you are. Your strength isn't just about healing or being kind. It's about making decisions, standing your ground. They need to see you in action." Amelia nodded, feeling the pressure of his words. She had never considered herself a natural leader, but with Elias's belief in her, she felt a spark of determination. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, her voice steady. Elias smiled, his eyes warm with pride. "You've already started. The way you've handled the wolves, the way you've been with the pack. It's all about leading with compassion, but now you need to show them your confidence. Make a choice, Amelia. Stand before the pack and make a decision. They will follow you when they see your conviction." Amelia took a deep breath, his words sinking in. She had always been afraid of standing out, of making the wrong choice. But Elias was right. She couldn't lead by simply following his example. She had to make her own mark. "I'll do it," she said, her voice filled with resolve. The next day, Elias called the pack together in the central courtyard. Amelia stood beside him, feeling the weight of the pack's gaze upon her. She could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken doubts. She knew this was her moment to show them who she was. As Elias spoke to the pack, his voice carrying with authority, Amelia's thoughts were focused. This was the moment she had to take control. When he finished, she stepped forward, her heart pounding. "I know you all have your doubts about me," she began, her voice strong yet filled with sincerity. "But I am here to lead, not to follow. I've been given a responsibility, and I will not shy away from it. I will make decisions for the good of this pack, even if they are difficult." The pack watched in silence, their eyes fixed on her. For a brief moment, Amelia felt the weight of their scrutiny, but then something shifted. She stood taller, her confidence growing with each word she spoke. I am not perfect, but I am committed to seeing this pack thrive. I will protect you, I will guide you, and I will stand beside Elias as your Luna. When she finished, there was a pause, an expectant silence. Then, one by one, the pack members lowered their heads in respect. Amelia could see the change in their eyes. It wasn't just respect for Elias now, it was respect for her. She had proven herself, not by force or power, but by standing firm in her belief. Elias's eyes met hers, filled with pride. He stepped beside her, his hand resting on her shoulder. You did it, he whispered. Amelia's heart swelled with a mixture of relief and pride. She had taken the first step toward leading the pack. She wasn't just the Omega who had been rejected. She was Amelia Grant, Luna of the Alpha King, and she was ready to lead. Amelia stood on the balcony, the cool night air brushing against her skin as she gazed out at the vast forest surrounding the Alpha King's home. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the land. It was a peaceful night, but Amelia's mind was far from calm. The events of the past few weeks had unfolded faster than she could have imagined. She had proven herself to the pack, but there was still so much more to learn, so many more challenges to face. Elias had given her the confidence to lead, but now, as she stood alone, doubts crept into her thoughts. Could she truly live up to the expectations of the pack? Could she protect them, guide them, as Elias had entrusted her to do? The gentle sound of footsteps approaching broke her from her thoughts. She turned to find Elias standing behind her, his presence a comforting constant. His silver-gray eyes were soft with understanding as he took a step closer. You're thinking too much, he said, his voice low and reassuring. Amelia smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. It's hard not to. There's so much responsibility now. I don't know if I'm ready for all of it. Elias reached out, his hand gently touching her shoulder. You are, he said firmly. You've already shown the pack who you are. You've earned their respect, Amelia. Don't doubt yourself. I have no doubt you will rise to the challenge. I'm here with you, every step of the way. His words brought a sense of comfort, but Amelia still couldn't shake the feeling that there was more she needed to prove. I don't want to fail them, she whispered. Elias took her hand in his grip strong and unwavering. You won't fail them, he said, his voice full of conviction. And even if you stumble, I will be here to catch you. You don't have to do this alone. We are in this together. Amelia turned to face him fully, her heart swelling with a mix of emotions. Thank you, she said quietly. Elias smiled, a warmth in his eyes that made Amelia's heart beat faster. You don't have to thank me. We're partners, Amelia. I believe in you, more than you know. They stood there for a moment, the night air around them filled with a quiet understanding. Amelia felt a sense of peace settle over her, as if, for the first time, she truly belonged. The path ahead was uncertain, but with Elias by her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges the future held. As they turned to walk back inside, Elias's hand remained firmly in hers, a steady reminder of the bond they shared. Amelia knew that, together, they could overcome anything. The pack had accepted her, but more importantly, she had accepted herself. She wasn't just the Omega who had been rejected. She was the Luna, the one who would stand beside the Alpha King and lead their people into a brighter future. Amelia walked alongside Elias through the pack's training grounds, the sounds of warriors practicing their skills echoing in the distance. The air was thick with the scent of earth and sweat, and the hum of the pack's daily routines filled her ears. She was starting to feel like part of it all, but there was still so much to learn. Elias had asked her to join him today to observe the training session. It was time for her to begin understanding the dynamics of the pack beyond the walls of their home. As they approached the edge of the field, a group of warriors spotted Elias and immediately bowed their heads in respect. Amelia could feel the shift in the atmosphere as they acknowledged her presence. She had earned their respect, but now she had to prove she was more than just the Luna of the Alpha King. You're doing well, Elias said quietly, noticing her hesitation. They're not as intimidating as they seem. These wolves will follow you once they see your strength, Amelia. Don't be afraid to step forward. Amelia nodded, taking a deep breath. She had to show them she was capable of more than just being by Elias's side. As they stood watching, one of the warriors, a large, imposing man named Rolf, approached them. His broad shoulders and stern face made him seem unapproachable, but his eyes softened when he saw Elias. "Your Majesty," Rolf said with a bow, his voice respectful but firm. "We are ready to begin the next round. Would you like to observe or join in?" Elias turned to Amelia with a slight smile. "It's time," he said, giving her a nod of encouragement. Amelia's heart raced as she stepped forward, trying to steady her nerves. "I'll join in," she said, surprising herself with her own confidence. The warriors exchanged curious glances, but none of them questioned her decision. Rolf stepped aside and motioned for her to take her place. The training session began, and Amelia quickly found herself thrust into the thick of it. At first, she watched the warriors spar with each other, their movements fast and fluid, displaying the raw power of the pack. But as the session continued, Elias stepped in, offering her the opportunity to join a sparring match with Rolf. Amelia's breath caught in her throat as she faced the large warrior. She had never fought like this before, but she was determined to prove herself. As the match began, Amelia moved with an instinct she didn't fully understand. Rolf's first move was swift, but she was quick enough to dodge, feeling the adrenaline surge through her veins. She blocked his next strike, feeling a strength within her that surprised even herself. Elias watched from the sidelines, his expression a mix of pride and admiration. "Well done, Amelia," he called out as she landed a successful hit on Rolf's arm. The warriors watching her gasped, clearly impressed by her ability. Rolf stepped back, smiling. "You have more strength in you than I expected, Luna," he said, nodding in approval. Amelia beamed, her confidence growing with each passing moment. She had done it. She had held her ground and proved herself in front of the pack. Elias's eyes met hers, and the pride in them made her heart swell. She wasn't just the Luna by his side anymore. She was a leader in her own right. "You did well," Elias said, walking over to her. He placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of support and admiration. "You've shown them what you're capable of." Amelia smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment she had never experienced before. She had taken a step toward becoming the leader she had always hoped to be. The pack had witnessed her strength, and now they would see her as more than just the Alpha King's mate. She was Amelia Grant, the Luna, and she was ready to lead alongside Elias. As they walked off the field together, the warriors returning to their training, Elias's hand remained on her shoulder. She felt stronger than ever, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that with Elias by her side, nothing could stand in her way. Amelia stood in the heart of the pack's gathering hall, the air filled with anticipation. The members of the pack had gathered for the monthly council meeting, a tradition where decisions were made that affected their entire community. The room was large and open, with high stone walls and intricate carvings decorating the ceiling. Torches flickered along the edges, casting a warm glow across the room. Elias stood by her side, his presence a steady support. The pack's leaders and elders filled the seats around the long wooden table, all eyes on her. Amelia could feel their gaze, the weight of their expectations heavy on her shoulders. She had proven herself in training, but this was different. Today, she would make a decision that would affect the future of the pack. She glanced at Elias, who offered her a small, encouraging smile. "You've got this," he whispered, his voice filled with confidence in her. Amelia took a deep breath and stepped forward, her heart beating faster with each step. The room fell silent as she addressed the pack. "As Luna, it is my responsibility to ensure the safety and prosperity of our pack," she began, her voice steady and clear. "I have been listening, learning, and observing the needs of our people, and I believe it is time we take a new path." She could feel the eyes of the pack on her, their silence a sign of curiosity and anticipation. Amelia paused, gathering her thoughts before continuing. "We have always relied on the traditional ways of governing, but the world around us is changing. It is time for us to evolve. We need to focus on strengthening our relationships with the neighboring packs, forging alliances that will ensure our survival. It is not just about strength in battle, but strength in unity." A murmur rippled through the room as the pack members exchanged looks. Amelia held her ground, her gaze unwavering as she scanned their faces. "I propose that we send ambassadors to the neighboring packs to establish formal relations and offer our support. We will not act as conquerors, but as allies. Together, we will build a network of strength that will protect us all." The room remained silent for a moment, the weight of her words sinking in. Then, one of the elders, a tall, wise woman named Mara, spoke. "You speak of change, Luna," Mara said, her voice calm but measured. "But change is not always easy. Many of us have lived by the old ways for years. How can we be certain that these new alliances will serve us well?" Amelia nodded, understanding the concern. "I know it is a risk," she said. "But sometimes, the greatest strength comes from trusting others. The world is becoming more interconnected, and we must adapt. If we do not change, we risk being left behind." Elias stepped forward, his voice adding weight to Amelia's words. "I stand by her," he said, his tone firm. "Amelia's vision for the future is one of unity and strength. Together, we can build a future that will not only protect us, but make us stronger than we've ever been." The room was still for a moment before another elder, a gruff man named Bren, spoke up. "I've seen many changes in my time, some for the better, others for the worse," he said, his voice skeptical. "But I trust the Luna. If she believes this is the way forward, then I will support her." Slowly, one by one, the other pack members nodded in agreement. Amelia felt a surge of relief wash over her as she realized they were beginning to see her vision. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "Together, we will create a future where our pack thrives. This is just the beginning." As the meeting continued, Amelia felt a sense of pride in her heart. She had made her first decision as Luna, and the pack had trusted her. She was no longer the Omega who had been overlooked. She was a leader, and the pack was starting to see her as one. Elias's hand brushed hers as he stood beside her, his eyes filled with pride. She smiled at him, knowing that together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Amelia had found her place in the pack, and now, she was ready to shape its future.